fire danger. A fire warning as powerful winds return to Southern California, even as a new fire breaks out.
We're never sure that we're going to be able to catch the next fire and keep it small.
Upgraded this to that PDS, a particularly dangerous situation.
Being prepared, the steps people in other western states are taking just in case.
You can't really count on anybody but yourself.
Tsunami warning, a look back on the lessons learned from the 2004 disaster in the Indian Ocean.
There is really no functioning tsunami warning system in the Indian Ocean basin.
Plus, new information on a grieving mother orca off the Washington coast, and the effort to count the nation's bald eagle population.
From our nation's capital, this is the National Weather Desk.
Good morning and welcome to the National Weather Desk. I'm meteorologist Matt Ritter. Strong winds returned to Southern California this morning, raising fears there will be a significant setback to containing the wildfires. The Palisades and the Eaton fires are now 14% and 33% contained. But with 70-mile-per-hour wind gusts, embers could easily blow into new communities. As of this morning, there are 24 confirmed dead, with at least 23 more missing. More than 12,000 homes, businesses, and other structures are destroyed. We begin our coverage with Michael Yoshida in Altadena.
Firefighters continuing to battle the deadly Los Angeles wildfires. A week into the efforts, officials warning the fight and danger is far from over.
We're very well prepared for the next event, but that's never going to be, we're never sure that we're going to be able to catch the next fire and keep it small.
The Palisades, Eaton, and Hearst fires wiping out years of history across L.A.
It's 36 years of memories just gone. My mom was hysterical. I can't even put into words how painful it was to see her pain.
Thousands of homes destroyed and dozens of lives lost. Chris Weisner sharing these photos of his friend Randall Mayad, who was killed as the Palisades fire overwhelmed his home.
I can't sleep much. It's heartbreaking. My wife and I are crying all the time.
And with search crews still going through debris, first responders with a sobering message. Angelenos should be prepared for the death toll to keep rising.
It is a very grim task. And we, unfortunately, every day we're doing this, we're running across the remains of individual community members.
And this morning we can see and hear utility crews hard at work. You can see some of the lines that are still hanging down behind me. Los Angeles Mayor Karen Bass, she has signed an executive order to help speed up the recovery and rebuilding process. In Altadena, I'm Michael Yoshida reporting.
And firefighters are battling a new fire burning in Ventura County. The so-called auto fire erupted Monday night about 40 to 50 miles west of the Palisades fire. So far, it's burned 56 acres. Officials say they were able to stop forward progress on the fire, but it remains at 0% containment. A red flag warning is in place through tomorrow as those strong Santa Ana winds return. Meteorologist Shannon O'Donnell has a closer look at the wind forecast.
But more high wind warnings with these gusts upwards of 50 to even 60, 70 miles per hour over the next 48 hours. The weather service there around L.A. has upgraded this to that PDS, a particularly dangerous situation like they did last week, to underscore the fact that these winds could cause deadly fires. It's the similar scenario to what we had actually when we had the bomb cyclone. We have a big area of high pressure inland, lower pressure offshore. Air always runs from high pressure toward low pressure, and as it works its way through the canyons and the terrain there, pushing down toward Los Angeles and the ocean, it starts to pick up speed. Red flag warning not just in place there again for Malibu and all the way back through LA and Pasadena, but extending down through parts of Southern California as well. It is going to be a really gusty 24 to 48 hours again before things finally settle down later in the week.
As Shannon mentioned, the National Weather Service issued a rare, particularly dangerous situation warning for Southern California, or for short, PDS. Warnings were first used for tornado outbreaks in the Midwest before it was expanded to include ice storms, floods, hurricanes, and now wildfires. The warning uses hot pink letters on a gray background that the National Weather Service says they hope will become synonymous with extreme weather events. And take a look at this video that shows the moments a fire-nado broke out during the Palisades fire last week. Fire tornadoes are rare. They happen when a fire is so intense that it creates its own weather system by the heat lowering air pressure. And when the heat is extremely intense, the air rises and pulls in surrounding air, creating the spinning vortex. Well over 1,000 fire engines are helping respond to the fires. Making sure they're safe and ready to go is crucial. Madison Keevy takes us to one CAL FIRE facility to look at the important work the CAL FIRE mechanics are doing.
From bumper to bumper.
Shake the steering wheel, please.
And all the essential equipment in between.
Okay, take it out of reverse.
These mechanics are making sure firefighter vehicles are safe before they ever get to the flames.
The last thing you want to happen is for them to have a breakdown at the fire line. It puts a lot of people in jeopardy.
It's been the busiest week in the history of CAL FIRE's Equipment Maintenance Depot. Normally in January, this facility performs routine winter maintenance on CAL FIRE vehicles. But now, this team of more than 24 mechanics is inspecting and repairing fire engines from across the western states on their way to the Southern California fires.
Over the course of that long drive, things start to rattle loose on these things.
These clamps sometimes will pop off.
Their goal is to get a strike team of 5 engines checked out and back on the road in less than 45 minutes.
We roll under it and look for water leaks, oil leaks, fuel leaks. We check the tires, belts, and hoses. We want to make sure that they're deployed, ready to go, and safe.
In some areas, crews are starting the long task of getting neighborhoods ready for people to return to see what's left of their homes. Veronica Miracle is in Altadena, where the Eaton fire caused extensive damage, and she shows us what's being done to start the long recovery process.
You take a look inside of this car here, you can see the outside of it, but you can see how hot that these fires burn because everything inside has been burned to ash. And what's really incredible about these fires and just shows how precarious the winds were, all of these homes here behind us are burned to the ground, but then just right over this way, a home still standing. So it's really, if you're lucky, the home stands. So much has to do with just how the fire is moving. Right now in this neighborhood, what we're seeing are crews, here SoCal Edison crews, they're trying to get power lines back up. Really the efforts right now is just to make sure that everything is safe so that people can come back in and tend to what is left or to see if their house is still here. But then after that begins the cleanup. A FEMA administrator telling CNN today that it will likely take about 6 months to get everything cleaned up because all of the toxic ash is now seeping into the soil. They will have to completely remove foundations of homes. These are thousands of homes that we're talking about. So just 6 months, or rather 6 months of cleanup. And then after that, how will these communities rebuild?
And the wildfires in California have officials in other states concerned. As southern Utah experiences a drier than average winter, experts there are warning homeowners to take a proactive approach to fire mitigation. Liv Kellerer has that story.
Fire Chief Robert Stoker of St. George says this year's dry winter could lead to more extreme conditions in the spring and summer.
Winters, when a lot of your foliage can receive the moisture it needs, and so springtime, when that does come, we'll have a lot of our fuel moistures will be lower than normal unless we get some much needed precipitation, in the next couple of months.
Land and fire agencies, both local, state, and federal, use a mix of equipment, hand removal, and prescribed burns to clear out brush in areas of high fire risk.
So if you do have a fire, there's some defensible space that'll slow those fires down, and crews are able to get in with either hand crews or aircraft to help slow those fires down and extinguish them.
He also said that hydrants are managed by the city water and fire departments.
So I know there's been a lot of questions on that with the California fires on, the fire hydrants were empty, did they not fill the hydrants up? Those are actually off our water system. Those are tested. We try to get around to those annually and actually do flow tests on those, make sure that they're maintained.
Creating defensible space, choosing fire-resistant landscaping, and preparing an emergency kit are all ways that you can proactively prepare for fire season.
Now to the skies. Viewers across the country shared photos of last night's full moon, also known as the wolf moon. It included a rare lunar occultation of Mars, when the red planet passes behind the moon. Here you can see Mars just as it reappeared from behind the moon. The next full moon takes place the morning of February 12th. It's known as the snow moon. And coming up on the National Weather Desk, have you ever wondered how tsunamis are detected or who issues those warnings? We'll show you. And the annual bald eagle count is taking place. We'll take you to Nevada to learn more about what it is.
You are watching the National Weather Desk.
Have you ever wondered how tsunamis are detected or who issues those tsunami warnings? Emily Gracie recently spoke with someone from the Tsunami Weather Center in Hawaii to learn about how tsunamis form and why the 2004 Indian Ocean tsunami was so deadly.
Any phenomena that causes a sudden displacement of the ocean column can generate a tsunami. So approximately 80% of the known destructive tsunamis are actually generated by earthquakes.
What are the other 20% caused by?
You can have landslides falling into the ocean or what we call submarine landslides. Sometimes these happen by themselves or sometimes they're triggered by earthquakes. Another mechanism for generating earthquakes as well, this occurred relatively recently, volcanic explosions.
Is there like an equation for a really destructive tsunami?
Well, basically the kinds of earthquakes are what we call thrust earthquakes. This is where the motion along the fault is vertical. So, for example, the San Andreas fault in California, that's where motion along the fault is horizontal. In general, those aren't particularly efficient at generating earthquakes because most of the ground motion is horizontal, and therefore you're not really displacing the water column.
So, like the plates are going like this instead of like
That's
this?
Right. That's right. And at a thrust earthquake, the plates are either moving up or down.
Okay, so let's talk about the 2004 Indian Ocean tsunami. This is one that obviously stands out to a lot of people. What about that particular tsunami made it so impactful to so many people and then also so deadly to so many people?
Well, it was generated by perhaps the third largest instrumentally recorded earthquake. But the main problem was that there was really no functioning tsunami warning system in the Indian Ocean basin. At that time, only the Pacific Basin had a tsunami warning system. The world learned a very hard lesson that a tsunami warning system can't be stood up in a few hours.
To learn more about the science of tsunamis, listen to this week's episode of our podcast, Off the Radar. Stuart will discuss the changes that have been made over the past 20 years and what the future of tsunami detection looks like. Find Off the Radar on anywhere you get your podcasts, including our YouTube channel. Now, Mother Orca that's been carrying her dead calf was spotted 3 days ago, making it at least 11 days she's been seen refusing to let go. And the story is gaining attention for the critically endangered subpopulation of southern whales. Karina Vargas has more from researchers on their signs of grief.
All eyes have been on J35, the southern resident killer whale, also known as Tahlequah, a mother orca who had given birth to a female calf, J61, in December but died a week later. She was recently spotted again carrying her dead calf around.
It does strike a chord within us, I think, because we can relate to her as a grieving mother and as a member of this tight-knit community of whales that she belongs to.
This isn't the first time this mother orca has done this. The Center for Whale Research said back in 2018, she carried her calf's body on her head for 17 days. Researchers with the organization Wild Orcas say they believe this is her way of grieving.
The parts of their brains that are responsible for things like memory, emotion, language are very well developed. In fact, in some ways more developed than in the human brain.
Researchers say it's known for animals to grieve their dead calves, but this case is different.
Never for the length of time that J35 did, and certainly not even as long as this current occasion.
These orcas are so loved yet endangered, with fewer than 75 at last count. And researchers say female orcas have a high rate of pregnancy loss.
69.8% of the females in this population who are getting pregnant are unable to carry their calf to term. So they're spontaneously miscarrying their calves, or the calves are born and die right away.
These orcas are also known for the strong bond they create with their calves.
I wouldn't be surprised if the grieving process doesn't last a lifetime like it does with humans, where a baby is lost.
And now to Nevada, where the state's annual bald eagle count is taking place. It's part of a nationwide effort to tally bald eagle numbers every January. Ben Margiot has more.
There tends to be a lot of eagles near the marsh here. Armed with tripod and scope, avid birders set their gaze on the treetops.
Dark head. This is definitely an eagle. Let me get my scope on him.
As did we.
And sure enough, just a minute after we got here, the bird watchers peering through their scopes, me looking through my lens, and we saw one fly directly overhead.
I mean, you can't get anything better than that.
Sarah Hockensmith is with the Tahoe Institute for Natural Science. The nonprofit recruits dozens of birders to set up at 26 spots around the lake for the annual count. January is the perfect time for it.
They're more concentrated in the wintertime because they're coming from the north. For example, Alaska or other areas with a lot less sunlight. Number one, our lake doesn't freeze, so they're able to find fish or waterfowl.
Hawkinsmith says the count helps officials monitor populations and make conservation decisions accordingly.
So there was a couple instances in the early 80s where there were 0 eagles found. So they decided to ban the insecticide that was making their eggshells soft. And because of that, they were able to reproduce and get back to a stable population.
Now, there are 30-plus eagles each year and a record 42 spotted in 2021.
In science, there's not a lot of positive stories. And with the bald eagle count, this is a very successful story.
In South Lake Tahoe, Ben Marjot reporting.
Michigan has many hidden gems. One of them is the Leo Creek Preserve. The land is used to teach others about nature's resources. Meteorologist Trevor Rubidoux has more.
Leo Creek Preserve started as a nonprofit organization in 2016. Kate Thornhill has been a steward of the land, working with several volunteers over the years to make the land what it is today.
Kate has been a tremendous community member in caring for Leo Creek and having a vision for what that preserve could be, and she's put so much heart and energy and time into creating beautiful botanical gardens there, into maintaining the boardwalks, and really creating a space for the public to come and enjoy nature and reflect and be able to be outside. And we feel very honored that she has gifted it to us to continue that stewardship and legacy.
Now Kate is ready to transition out of her role after gifting the property to the ISEA. While the ISEA has been using the property to teach students since 2021, now the mission has expanded.
She gifted Leo Creek to Inland Seas in order for us to continue maintaining it for the public to use, but also to increase our educational programs there. So we take students and we take teachers to Leo Creek to teach them about watershed health, how to protect watersheds, the importance of macroinvertebrates that live in the creek, and the importance of the surrounding habitat. It's really a fun, hands-on way to get kids engaged in the outdoors and understand what's living in the creek, what's living in the forest, and how that connects to the Great Lakes.
This, along with also keeping the property natural and unchanged for generations to come.
And it's time now for a short break, but first let's take in some views of Mount Rainier in Washington State.
Weather Window, presented by the National Weather Desk.
Weekend snowfall created lovely conditions for skiing in western Montana. Here are some of the views at a ski area outside of Phillipsburg. This slow-mo shows Diesel the dog catching and eating a snowball. And this 3-year-old is helping his grandpa down a snowy hill, then decides to hang on for the ride.
Listen to Off the Radar, new episodes every Tuesday. Find it wherever you get your podcasts.
Have you ever noticed how quiet the world seems after a freshly fallen snow? There is some science behind enjoying that silence. Meteorologist Jeff Exline explained it in a recent Instagram post. Take a look.
You see, snow absorbs sound, freshly fallen snow. The 6-sided crystals of snowflakes, the spaces between them, they absorb the sound waves. And well, this only works with a freshly fallen snow. You have that hard, crusty snow that turns to ice outside. It actually can do the opposite. It'll amplify the sound. It could get noisier. So the silence after a snowstorm is as fleeting as the beauty of the snow that is on the ground. So get out there and enjoy it.